Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting episode of Stellaris. And wow, has this game changed. I started playing this game back in 2016 and it has had a serious facelift. Of course, I've gone through and met different variations of it throughout the years as I played it and played, posted up different series for it, different species. I finished one campaign or two campaigns, but some of the other ones I was started and then it wouldn't finish because the game would change. You have game breaking updates. And hopefully it doesn't happen anytime soon because they just started a new species, and that species is the one I'm going to be talking about today. But before we get started, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Let's get going. Alright, so we're talking about food today in Stellaris, specifically a min-max build where food is king in the galaxy, meaning not all but most of your resources will come from food. This makes everything really easy to manage. There aren't many weaknesses to this build. Even if you get cut off by other empires or the galactic market, you're golden. You can be a powerhouse isolationist species. This empire is called the Eternal Divine Zuran Order. They are organic, which means food consumption. They use biological ships and stations, which means their ships, stations, defense platforms use mostly food and some alloys. That includes mining stations, that includes research facilities, research stations, that includes, the little star bases, that includes all of it. And this significantly reduces your empire cost and upkeep for alloys. Where is that food coming from? Well, first let's take a look at anglers. Anglers, this society is well adapted to an aquatic environment, using the bounty of the sea to fuel its economy. They are built for ocean worlds. Agricultural districts are uncapped, which means that on most planets, you start off with like a certain limit. You can have this many mineral districts or mining districts. You can have this many energy districts. You can have this many agricultural districts. That cap is gone, so you can have unlimited. If you start off with a planet that's size 19, you can have 19 districts, or 18 districts. I think these cities by default. You can have 18 districts, all agricultural districts if you wanted to. No cap, no limits, non-stop food, which is perfect for this build. On wet worlds, you get agricultural districts have the aquaculture specialization. That's a really cool specialization. We're going to get into that. Farmers are converted into anglers. Anglers are, fishers. Artisans are converted into pearl divers. We're going to get into that as well. Penalties. You're required to be an aquatic trait. Of course, we're going to do the aquatic traits. We got that feature there. Minister of the Seas. Empire effects per skill level. Food produces plus 2% for farmers. The consumer goods from artisans plus 2%. Consumer goods are a great boost there, and it's going to be needed for some things here. Aquaculture specialization allows you to build 3 slots of buildings. These are going to be primarily agricultural buildings. It's going to be one like for food production, which gives you actually like 200 plus jobs. It's going to be one that'll allow you to increase the production of food by a percentage. There's going to be a couple other ones you can unlock in the future, including ones that allow you to get exotic gas, special, resource. But with this, you get plus 50 angler jobs per district, plus 50 per pearl diver jobs per district. So if you have, let's say, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 districts, you get that for every single district. So this is a huge bonus there. 10 districts means 500 extra jobs for that. Pearl divers turn minerals or food into trade. So starting off right away, if you are primarily focused on food and you really go deep into these agricultural districts, which is the plan, which is the goal, you're going to be producing a lot of trade, which is one of the key resources to make your civilization run. So right away, you're gaming the system by producing a lot of trade and consumer goods with pearl divers. Anglers produce food and trade, which again means you're going to be producing a lot of trade. With no caps, this is just it just runs your economy. Like you're racing to riches with aquaculture specialization. And I love this. And right again, these are like 4 key resources you have going right there: consumer goods, trade, food. Oops, I didn't go. No, that was 3. There's another one I'm thinking of, but we're going to get into that one next with the other feature. And that other feature is catalytic processing. By focusing their industry or efforts on catalytic chemistry, this civilization has unlocked the key to using organic materials in the construction of spacebound structures, where it comes in. I was talking about the stations and the ships and the defense platforms. Metallurgists are replaced with catalytic technicians. Industry jobs have their minerals upkeep replaced with food upkeep, which pretty much means you go heavy on your agricultural districts, and I mean heavy on those districts. You're producing a lot of extra food, you're producing consumer goods, and then you're also going to be able to convert that food into alloys, which was one of the most keyest elements you can do for building your empire up, primarily for combat. You can build an entire empire on food and be fine with a great economy, but you do have to have ships, you have to have stations. They require a little bit of alloy with the biological ships, which is what we're going to be using here. And so it's huge boost there. Principal catalyst is one of the council positions, which just increases the production of the 2+ metallurgists. Now I didn't use that. I'm limited regarding the council positions. You can only have 5 in the build that I did, and so I had to use Kingdom Master of the Seas instead. But you could always, if you wanted to swap that out and use this instead, that's great. But Master of the Seas boosts your food production, which is critical for everything else. So comparing the two, I would say go with Master of the Seas or Captain of the Seas or whatever it is for the seas. Now, aquatic is the requirements for the anglers, and aquatic is really a great skill to have there, a little great trait. I mean, ocean habitability plus 20%, and if you have yourself on an ocean world, which why wouldn't you? Because that's where all your unlimited resources comes in. That's the way to go. You're getting a 220% right away, so you're getting 100% on your home world, but also every additional ocean world you go to, unless it has any kind of deficits, like -5 or -10%, they're also going to be 100%, which means you're going to have full capability of getting the best out of all your workers and all your species, all your pops. Housing usage on ocean worlds and flooded habitats is -10%, which means you can house more people on your planets with less problems. Job efficiency for workers and menial drones on ocean worlds +10%, and again, that just increases your production of your food by another 10% with that. Housing usage on non-wet worlds is +30%, but you don't have to worry about that because for the most part you're going to be sticking on the ocean worlds. You can always do terraforming. That comes later on, and again, using exotic gas, which is what you get from agricultural districts, it actually helps you with producing terraforming projects at a quicker pace. So you can get like plus like 0.17 for the food being used for gas, and you get that gas, and you got all these districts, you're producing all this gas, producing all this food, and you don't have to worry about exotic gases. You don't have to worry about terraforming being an issue. You can reduce the cost of terraforming by like -50%. So instead of taking like 3,600 days or months, what is it? It pretty much comes up to 10 years. Instead of taking 10 years to terraform a planet, it'll take 5 years. Or in some cases, for some planets like a continental world or a forest world, it's like it's like 2.5, almost 3 years for the terraforming, which means you're right away you're able to get onto that planet and you're able to populate, and you're going to get that 100% habitability again. But just in case, housing usage on non-wet worlds is +30%, and habitability on non-wet worlds is -20%. We really avoid that. We really do avoid that. But if you were to go this route, there is something else I did to combat this deficit to your habitability and housing on non-wet worlds. The secret sauce, the secret weapon to habitability is subterranean urbanization. Subterranean urbanization gives you the rare benefit of being able to be a cave dweller. cave dwellers have a boost to habitability on most planets, if not all planets. It is a gift that keeps on giving. We're talking a minimum habitability of plus 50%. That's right, minimum habitability of plus 50% on all planets, or most planets. Empire size for pops is plus 10%, but you can always get some technology to reduce the empire size. Also, job efficiency for mining jobs is plus 15%. Let's say if you even care about mining, which in this particular case, you don't have to do much caring about mining because you're going to be doing everything with food. But there's also the biological pop growth speed of minus 10%. That's the deficit, but the positive is habitability boost for non-wet worlds. Now, you're not going to be doing that, at least I hope you're not going to be doing that if you decide to do a build like this. You're going to be permanently focusing on ocean worlds. But let's just say that you seize an enemy planet. Let's say you take over their planet and you're like, hey, this is mine now. Yeah, you have a deficit, but you still have that plus 50%. Plus, subterranean urbanization gives you a plus 3 building slots so that you can do housing buildings on in the mining district. So instead of doing just the mining planet, the mining buildings, you can do luxury buildings. You can do what's it called? You can do the theater, the holo theaters, the commercial zones, the precinct housings. Really big bonuses from having those being used in your mining districts as opposed to using those in your city districts. So, so say you want to build, agricultural world, but you also want to add extra housing to it, and you also want to use those other 6 slots or whatever slots you have in the city districts. You just don't like the main one, then you have the 5 more, but you can also specialize. So you have, theoretically, you have the spots for 12 buildings in your city districts, and you don't want to use any of those for things like luxury residence, holo theaters, precinct houses. You now have 3 extra slots in the mining districts, and that's powerful. That's very beneficial for you to have those extra slots for that, especially since we're not going to be using mining for much with the species, because again, what little bit of mining we're going to do is mostly going to be in space, with those mining stations in space. But we still are going to take 1 mining district on each of our worlds to take advantage of those 3 buildings. And in addition to that, when you have the subterranean urbanization, you can actually have 2 additional districts. That's just a gift, because you live underground. So that's a huge plus. Every single planet you go on, you have 2 additional districts. This is a steal in itself. That's a win in itself. I don't know why anyone would not want that, because you can use those 2 districts for more food, you can use those 2 districts for more housing, but you have them. Those are 2 that are there. They're not going to go away ever. So you can take any planet and just make it just a tiny bit bigger. That's the biggest boost I can imagine when you're trying to expand and worry about having small worlds. It just makes them a little bit bigger. Now, one of the other benefits of being a subterranean is, the orbital bombardment damage. So if someone comes to your planet and they decide they want to bomb you and take over your planet, this reduces orbital bombardment damage by 75%, which means they're going to make a lot less progress because technically you live underground. Even better for my species, they're an ocean world, so they live, you've got under the ocean, and then there's caves under the ground in the ocean. So they're way down there from a flavor standpoint, storyline standpoint. So there's that. And also there's the negative 25% damage for cosmic storms, which is very helpful. And of course there's also the bonus of 200 to housing for mining districts, which again is great because all you really need is just 1 to get those 3 buildings. But then you get that extra 200 housing just from having that 1 extra mining district that you're working with there that you're not really using, because again, we don't need minerals that much, but you have a little bit of miners, you have a little bit extra housing. That's very helpful. And so now we have to look at the downsides. Infrastructure cost is plus 10%, but you can compensate with that because you've got all these extra minerals that you're really not using for anything else. I found that I was swimming in minerals I had nothing to do with, so I had to sell most of them in trade. I was consistently capping out on minerals because I was just making minerals from space mining stations and making minerals from on my planets, but I didn't have any place to put them, so I was suiting them to trade and making a lot of money from trade, and my trade was capping out because again I was just selling all those minerals. It wasn't so great from a transfer value as you sold more and more and more and more when I was in like the galactic market, because it was just selling internal. But once you get into the galactic market, you'll find that you'll be making a lot of trade because you don't really need the minerals on other planets, other systems, other species, other empires. They need those minerals for their alloys and for the alloy production, and also for consumer goods. But we don't have to worry about that, do we? Because food is king. Now, I mentioned that the cave dweller gives you a negative 10% to a biological pop growth speed, which is really unfortunate. So to compensate for that, I went with the xenophobe trait because the xenophobe trait gives us a lot of different options here. Number one, plus 10% to pop growth. It also increases our, our refugee attraction. Decreases our refugee attraction, but it doesn't really matter because we're going to be claiming people the old-fashioned way through war. And starbase influence cost is negative 20%, which means buying and building starbases costs a lot less. Influence costs, blah blah blah. I can't speak. Which is great when you're first starting off expanding your empire. You're going through from system to system. That 20% less cost to your influence means you can just grab more space, and that's beautiful thing. Now, one of the other reasons that I chose xenophobe was because you have access to something called livestock and purging. Livestock pretty much means that you are inviting people for dinner indefinitely. and that means that they are food for the emperor, food for the empire. You eat them, you can make them your livestock, like 3 food for every 100 pops, which adds up quickly. Now, they don't get the bonus that unpaid workers get. Unpaid workers, they are workforce, and you get the 3 plus whatever bonuses you get from different civics or different technologies. Livestock are locked on 3, but there are certain circumstances where you do take advantage of having that available as an option. So it's certainly worthwhile to have that xenophobe if you are not going to be a friendly species and you're going to be very military focused. You can take full advantage of taking people, putting them to work, and right away it just boosts your food economy even more, and you just snowball and snowball and snowball, getting bigger and bigger because now you're producing more food, which is producing more consumer goods, which allow you to use amenities for for that, and also consumer goods are great for research. And it just overall, you're just going to be again snowballing, and then all you have to do is focus after that on using your other pops for turning those foods into alloys, and then after that, you're running the show everywhere because you're building ships like nobody's business. You have all this food, you have all these alloys, you're going to be running over everybody, and that is why I chose militarist. Because if you're going to be running over everybody, you might as well do it with class and with style and have a culture built upon these principles. And so the militarist gives you a bonus of plus 10% to ship fire rate, which means you're just firing faster, which means in theory you're doing more damage. And also claim influence cost is less. So we have the cost for building, those space stations is less, and now the claim cost for claiming other people's territory is a lot less for influence. So this is saving you an influence, which is another key resource which you don't really get from food, but you can get it from military might, which is of course increased by having all that food and building all the space stations and building not space stations but ships. So you're just getting snowballing as far as your influence, because the larger your empire, the greater that'll influence how much of your influence you have. Now, moving on from influence, there is another resource that you're not going to get food from. You can get from food, and that's going to be unity, at least without, for the technologies that might boost that possibility. But just from the start, you're not going to get unity from food, and so you got to get it from someplace else. And so I went to spiritualist ethics. We get monthly unity plus 10%, edict upkeep minus 10%. Edict costs minus 10%. These are all great for starting your game off and commanding different edicts, which cost a little bit more of different resources. But that plus 10% unity is great because you can build temples. You can choose different traditions. You can keep your people's ethics in line. And so I wanted to go with that because you want to race towards those traditions. You want to race towards those ascension perks, and so I decided I was going to go with that. So it all kind of combines here. Everything aligns perfectly. With one little thing to go in here is one of the traits I added. Very strong trait. I figured if this was going to be a militarist species, they better have the muscle to back it up. And so I gave them very strong, which gives them plus 40% to army damage. And again, job efficiency for workers, plus 5%. Job efficiency for soldier jobs, plus 15%. Of course you're going to do that. Of course you're going to go that route. I want to make my army strong, being militarists and being xenophobes, and being able to go and defend ourselves, but also attack. Soldier jobs are also great for stability because you're going to have uninvited, if you're going to have unpaid workers, you're going to have to keep them under control, and so you're going to need soldiers for that, just in case they start to get upset, and you need to step in with soldiers to maintain stability. With that, that pretty much covers our build, because this was just some of the stuff is flavor, but most of the stuff as far as just core design is built again. Food is king. This empire will dominate. This empire will just steamroll over people. Organic ships are a little bit different as far as production because you have like the three different stages. You have the juvenile, the mature, and the elder. Those are researches and building them up, and then they have more resources as they develop, more shields, more armor as they grow. It was a very different experience designing them that way, as opposed to just having a ship and having one design and being like, okay, well, that's it. It's really cool. Also, I think to have that as a way of managing your ships and having variety and how they work, how they build. It's also good reason to build up your defenses, and I decided with this particular build, there is a ascension tradition. So there's a tradition and ascension perk. I just wanted to quickly just kind of touch on that for this particular build. I went with what's it called? I went with fortification tradition. Fortification tradition gives you increased station capacity, so you can have more stations, and it gives you like +4 once you take all the different traditions in the tree. It also increases your ship strength, your hull stations, your starbase's health and damage, all of that stuff. While you're in your own system, it just makes everything just more fortified. So if an enemy's going to attack you, that's going to deal with you having a faster fire rate, a faster shipbuilding for in offensive wars. Your defense armies are healthier and stronger. Starbase upgrade cost is less. It's a phenomenal thing. So this species is turtles, and so naturally I'm going to turtle. But again, this is like seriously a great isolationist build, because you can say, hey, don't talk to me, don't touch me. You can build tall with this, because you don't need to worry about a lot of taking up a lot of extra systems, at least in the start. And then with that case, you can build up your research quite effectively, and go through all the different research chains in a swift time frame. And once you do that, you're going to steamroll over everybody. And so this is a great start, and I think this is again a phenomenal domination build. That covers this build. I hope you enjoyed this episode. One little flavor touch: if you wanted to go the route of xenophobe and you wanted to do livestock. Livestock, great option. Build a fortress world, and you can have enforcers. You can do a lot of great things with that. Fortress worlds gives you great stability, boosts your defense, job efficiency for your soldiers, army damage increased even more, army build speed even more, orbital bombardment damage minus 10%. If you add the orbital bombardment damage boost for that, and being a subterranean species, and also having fortification, and fortification tree reduces orbital bombardment damage by 25%, you're looking at negative 10%, sorry, negative 110% for orbital bombardment damage, which if it's negative 110%, does it mean you get plus 10%? So when they bomb you, you actually heal? You would think that would be the case. But either way, that is just a little, flavor touch if you wanted to go that route. If you really want to turtle this species, fortification, fortress worlds, that's the way to go in addition to livestock. But anyway, thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. It's been a pleasure. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Also, give me your thoughts. Is this a great build? Do you have any suggestions? Do you have any opinions? Feel free to put that in the comment section. Thank you.